ご来場の皆さん、そして中継をご覧になっている世界中のスプラトゥーンファンの皆さん、こんにちは。
To everyone here in the booth and to all the Splatoon fans watching around the world from home, hello and welcome.
私は人の姿に変身する不思議なイカを研究しているイカ研究所の研究員です。
I am a researcher from Squid Research Labs, and we make it our business to study these mysterious squid-like creatures.
今日は通訳として助手を一人連れてきました。
Today I've brought an assistant with me to help with translation.
スプラトゥーンの世界大会がいよいよ開催されます。
Well, it is finally time for this worldwide Splatoon 2 tournament.
いかがですか皆さん。この世界各地から4つのチームが並んだこの光景。
What do you think, everybody? We've brought together 4 of the best teams from around the world.
まるで昨年の10月、任天堂スイッチにおいて新種のイカが発見された時のあの光景が蘇ったかのようです。
To me, it's almost as though we've been able to bring to life those scenes we witnessed in the Switch video from last year in October, where we discovered a new form of Inkling.
発売前から世界一を決めようというのもちょっと気の早い話ですが、
But we may be getting a bit ahead of ourselves to decide the world's greatest team before the game has been released.
今日は各地のスプラトゥーントーナメントを勝ち抜いたトッププレイヤーたちの熱い戦いを皆さんと一緒にじっくり研究したいと思います。
All of these players have won their own regional tournaments to get to this stage, and I look forward to enjoying and researching their exciting Splatoon play with all of you.
選手の皆さん、頑張って、そして試合を楽しんでください。
To all the players here, we wish you the best of luck, and most importantly, make sure to have fun.
Good luck!
Since release in 2015, Splatoon has become an international phenomenon. Teams have battled, they've splatted, and they've made it rain. The best squid squads have fought their way to the top, and now that the ink has settled, the turf has been won, 4 teams are left swimming. Team Dynameu, Rising Moon, Blue Ringed Octolings, and Team Deadbeat. Now they've descended onto the City of Angels to take part in the first ever 2017 Splatoon 2 World Inkling Invitational, with the hope of getting their hands on the most beautiful piece of metal in the world. An award so perfect, it stands as a beacon for squids and kids all over the world. An award etched with the names of players that will make history today. A trophy with a name so splatastic, it will be remembered throughout the ages. The one, the only. This just says insert trophy name here. You need a name for the trophy. Every good trophy has a name. Oh boy, here it is. The Splatoon Sterling Squid. So who will be crowned the greatest Splatoon players on Earth? Get ready to splat!
Good afternoon, E3, and welcome to the 2017 Splatoon World Inkling Invitational. I'm Jordan Kent. I'll be your spray-by-spray host for this tournament. Joining me on my left, we have Ashley Esqueda, our lead Splatalist, and on her left, our Inkspert from Nintendo Treehouse, Eric Smith. As you saw, we have 4 of the finest Splatoon teams in the world converging right here on this stage for a fantastic tournament. And before we get to the tournament layout, Ashley, these teams have inked their way through some of the best competition. Share a little bit with us as far as their journey to get here.
They have all come a long way to get here. Dynameu in Japan beat out over 700 teams collectively at the Koshien, Splatoon Koshien. And then Deadbeat, U.S. Inkling Open champions, only dropped 1 match, which was amazing. Blue Ringed Octolings ended up winning the 2017 Australia-New Zealand Splatoon Cup. And then Europe, Rising Moon, coming, not only beating everyone in their home country of France, but also all of Europe in the ESL Go for Splatoon Europe Grand Final.
Very impressive resumes for all of our teams. And Eric, why don't you share with the folks how things are going to get started with this tournament today?
Sure thing. We're going to start with a round robin where each team will play each other once. We'll then move to the elimination phase, where we'll have some best-of-5 series, and then the grand finals, which will be a best-of-7.
You mentioned that best-of-5 and then the best-of-7 in the grand finals. You'll get a chance to see a variety of game modes and maps on display in this tournament build. And it's very exciting to see what these teams can do. They've had a chance to familiarize themselves with the game. And one thing that we see from these teams here, Eric, is just their ability to communicate so well. Share with us how these teams will be communicating today. And then, of course, when we get our hands on our copies a little bit later, how we can communicate with each other.
But of course, so these teams today are wearing the same sort of headsets you see like on other sort of competitive video game competitions. But when the game comes out, players will actually be able to voice chat with each other via an app that you download. For smart devices, we will be communicating actually more about that functionality closer to launch.
Obviously, getting the chance to chat with each other, very important. And Ashley, we get started with Turf War here. It's how we all fell in love with Splatoon at the very beginning, our very first introduction to it. But however, these players are a little bit better than you and I.
A little bit, yeah.
When they get to Turf War, what are some of the things they're keeping in mind as far as the beginning and then especially the end of each match?
Well, obviously, the name of the game is ink. So Turf War is all about putting ink on the ground. It's not necessarily about splatting your opponent. It's about having the most ink at the end of the round. So you're going to see these players play at a very high level. There's going to be a lot of mobility. It's going to go really fast. They are moving so quick. They're getting behind. You're going to see flanking. You're going to see lane kind of management. It's going to be great. You're going to see all of the teams kind of work towards coming into a center location on the map and really fighting for that real key piece of territory.
Eric, last minute of each match, we've talked to every team. They've talked about how it's so important to make sure you don't get splatted because that's how the tide can turn in any match.
Absolutely. If you get splatted in the last minute, you're taking yourself out of the equation and you're outnumbered. The enemy team is able to ink way more than you are at that point, so you got to stay alive.
Well, we've talked about 4 of the finest teams here. Let's take a closer look at one of them. Our team representing Europe, here's a look at Rising Moon.
Stonehenge, Easter Island, Roswell, Rising Moon. This team, comprised of so-called Europeans, has traveled to Los Angeles to compete at the 2017 Splatoon 2 World Inkling Invitational. But where did they really come from? Anonymous sources trace their origins back to the mysterious place called France. These alleged shapeshifters have adopted the guise of a polite demeanor, yet beneath that facade lurks some of the most intense, cryptic, and enigmatic gamers looking to dominate the competition and the competition's children. Binks is an unhinged maniac with the blasters, and the mainstream media doesn't want you to know that after achieving rank of S+99, he immediately devoured his controller.
I did achieve S+99, but I did not eat my controller. Why would anyone do that?
The real question is, why wouldn't anyone ever not do that? Cebu, Boy.
It's Cebu.
If I'm not mistaken, that's an ancient Mayan word meaning government covert government operative.
I don't think that's actually true.
How much are they paying you to say that?
Nobody's paying me.
How much? The one known as Cebu supposedly once annihilated 7 Inklings in 20 seconds. Then there is the one that message boards have dubbed Inky. This one has a reputation for lording over his minions in tower control.
You know, I'm just here to have fun. If we win, we win. If we lose, we lose.
And if you're exposed as an Inkling race looking to achieve global Splatoon domination,
Then we win?
At least 12 anonymous message boards have designated Deadbeat as a Charger fanatic who has played over 3,400 hours of Splatoon.
We're just here to have a good time and play Splatoon. We just love the game.
And you have an insatiable thirst for the ink of your enemies?
No, we'll just play them and hope we win.
It might look like Rising Moon is just an ordinary team who simply loves to play Splatoon. But they won't pull the wool over my eyes. Wait, did you see that? Did you see his eyes? Come back here. I knew it.
That is Rising Moon from Europe. And Binks, if you get the victory, try not to eat the controller, okay? We only have a select few here. Just try to keep your teeth off of that here. We're getting set for our first match. We've got Turf War on Starfish main stage. So let's take a closer look at this level and how these teams will approach it. You look at Starfish main stage. And in the middle, obviously a main stage. How fitting is that? The team that can lock that down, and that's going to be point number 1 on our map as we take a closer look. When these two teams get started, they're going to want to work their way to the middle of the stage here, Ashley. And Ashley, once you get to that middle of the stage, it's important to get a push into the enemy territory as well, too.
Indeed, you want to cut off any lane that your enemy is going to be able to come at you from. The main stage is really interesting because it is a little bit raised, so you're getting a really nice advantage from which to splat your opponents.
Yeah, there are a couple of side entrances to that main stage where if you're on it, you have to watch those or someone could sneak up behind you too, though.
And it's also interesting because there are a couple points in the main stage where if players are maneuverable, they can get to some perches and get some leverage and really try to flank the opposition, Ashley.
Yeah, this is going to be a key strategy on main stage. You're going to want to get up high, especially the Charger players for each of these teams. If they're running a Charger, you want to get that sniper up to the highest nest you can possibly find, even if it's the smallest sliver of inkable space, and have them start taking out their opponents.
And Ashley, we were talking with Dynameu before things got started, and they said it's very important for each player to have a specific role. So that means you're sometimes going to see different weapons from different characters, not everybody rolling out with the same weapon.
Yeah, you definitely want, we call it, if you're not familiar with competitive gaming, we call it a meta. So you want to have a really good balance. Some weapons don't perform as well long range, but you would see a Charger kind of take on somebody with a roller. So it looks like we are getting started. We're going for it.
We are getting started. Our very first match, Starfish, main stage, Dynameu gonna be in the pink. Meanwhile, Rising Moon in the yellow. Rising Moon, they're gonna go with the heavy splatling, a slosher, an octobrush, and a Dynamo roller. Meanwhile, Dynameu, they've got a Charger, a Splattershot, Pro, a slosher, and a roller. Early splat right there by Dynameu as they get the initial 4-3 advantage on the field. 2:30 left in this one, and already, actually, we see Dynameu going towards the middle of the map.
Yeah, Dynameu and we've got Kagashino and Dynamo getting taken out right there on the main stage. Binks is still up with a slosher, going crazy up there, trying to establish kind of positioning, and Muscular is coming up and going to try to support here with a roller.
Both teams fighting hard for that main stage right now. Nobody's really wrestled control of that. However, we start to see Rising Moon with the majority of the ink in the middle of this map. They're going to look to try to make a push into Dynameu territory here, Ashley.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you can see some of Rising Moon haven't quite filled out their area yet in terms of ink, and we're going to hopefully see them do that. What's going on over there?
Dynamo with the absolutely terrific splat on Cebu in mid-air. That's going to be critical. It's now a 4-3 advantage on the field for Dynameu. And the splat, however, it takes one roller to splat another roller as both teams still haven't seized control of the middle area here, Ashley.
Yeah, it's I think one of the most dangerous things in Splatoon 2 is going to be that vertical splash from that roller. That makes people like Dynamo very dangerous.
Kagashino getting splatted by Cebu's. That very impressive right there. Meanwhile, we see a Stingray being deployed. Cebu with that Octobrush, trying to get some work done in the middle. Meanwhile, Dynameu controlling the middle of this map still. Nobody able to make that initial push quite yet. However, we see Cebu getting splatted once again by Dynamon.
Yeah, Dynamon is really dangerous. I mean, that's his name, Dynamon. You know he's coming at you with a roller. And Cebu doing a really good job, though, of making sure to get back to his teammates. This is a really great high-level strategy that a lot of these players use.
1 minute left. Neither team with a strong advantage at this point. It's still any Squids match. However, we start to see the Ink Storm being deployed. Here's a look at the map. Dynameu with a little bit of an advantage. 50 left. 4-0 on the field right now.
That's a
4-0.
advantage, especially in the last minute. Oh man, Dynamo is going to be able to get a lot of ink on the ground.
4-0 advantage, you got to be like salt and pepper and push it, baby. Meanwhile, 36 seconds left, 4-3 on the field for Dynameu, and they're starting to get into the Rising Moon territory as we see some tenta missiles from Kakashino being deployed. Rising Moon, they're going to have to fight hard to get that middle. However, Dynameu doing a fine job of just saving those specials. We see a little bit of action going here on the left side, but Dynameu able to hold it down, and another splat by Dynameu right there. Going to avoid the heavy splatling damage right there. 10 seconds left. It's going to be close. Another splat for Dynameu. That's why they call him Dynameu. Another splat. Very impressive. Dynameu doing what you need to do at the end of this match, and that will most likely secure it, staying alive and getting those critical splats as we see Dynameu getting the initial victory in our round-robin match here in Turf War, Ashley.
Yeah, Dynameu really, like you said, pushed it in that last minute. They were able to get out there, get some really key splats. When they have 45 seconds left, they had a 4-0 advantage. That is going to allow you not only to put down ink in places maybe there is no ink, but also take away from your opponent.
Absolutely. You saw Kakashi and Dynamon at the very end there. Splatting opponents at the 1 minute mark. They both had 7 splats total, and so we actually talked about that that splat statistic actually at the end of a match.
Yeah, this is really cool. So in Splatoon 2, instead of a how many times you got a splat, how many times you got splatted, we're going to see a combination of splats and assists. So this is going to be a really helpful thing for a lot of support players to get some of those really big numbers up on the screen, because if you're the Gretzky of Splatoon, I mean, you want to be rewarded for that. You want to be appreciated.
We saw midway through this match, nobody really had the advantage. It wasn't until about the 1 minute mark that Dynameu was able to get that initial hold, and it was all on that 4-0 advantage that they used right there, Eric. By the way, terrific job on the camera. We
thank you very much.
Eric made sure that we get a great view of the field right there. But looking back at this match and some of these critical moments as we look at our instant replay, Dynamon going to be able to use that roller down below, going to avoid the Stingray, get the splat, and then yes, a 2-on-1, that's always going to work out well for the team with more Squids on the field at that point, Ashley.
Absolutely, and Dynamon so good at being able to jump out of hiding and use that vertical splash to just wreck people, and it's really fantastic how he's just out there just popping out from behind a corner. I mean, I know if I ever saw Dynamon out in Inkopolis, I would not want to be on the receiving end of that roller.
You want to be friends with him.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You want to befriend Dynamon.
Let's take an early look at our standings as we just got done with our first match in round robin play. You see Dynameu at the top with 1 victory. Meanwhile, Rising Moon 0-1. It's okay. We still love you. You got plenty of matches to play still to get some more victories. And so many new mechanics in this game here, Eric, and it's interesting to see with these players. One interesting thing that we oftentimes see in the meta, that word that you threw out there, Ashley, was a lot of teams were going with that quick respawn, stealth jump. That's not an option this time around, so it's interesting to see how these teams might adjust to that.
Yeah, a lot of players were using those that combination of those abilities, because you were able to, even if you got splatted, you weren't punished so much. And when you did come back, you were able to jump back into the front lines, and using the stealth jump, people wouldn't see that beacon like that shows where you're landing. In this tournament edition, we don't have those. So, and also the, which one works differently? So stealth jump and quick respawn.
Quick respawn's different this time because you mentioned you have to get splatted multiple times for the quick respawn to work. And if you're any professional player or this elite level, you don't want to get splatted multiple times in a row. That's not going to help you out.
If you're 1-to-1 in terms of a ratio or better, so if you are splatting more than you've been splatted, quick respawn's not going to do a whole lot for you.
Basically, I'll be respawning very quickly throughout the entire. You've already looked at Rising Moon from Europe. Let's take a look at another one of our teams from Australia/New Zealand. These are the blue ringed Octolings.
The blue ringed Octolings, native to the land down under, are better known as Bro, are actually only represented by one Bro, an all-near female team that are massive fans of Nintendo. Bro, the winners of the 2017 AUNZ Splatoon Cup, have now found themselves out of their natural element. Latias is super splatastic with the charger, After getting her first Splatoon tournament win, Latias is aggressively hunting for that next taste of victory.
Give me more charges!
Bicky Bird splats with the Octobrush and has been a Nintendo fan for as long as she can remember.
If I could be any Nintendo character, I'd probably be Villager from Animal Crossing.
Maddie Kuma is the wild card who likes variety. She doesn't subscribe to one particular weapon, but one thing is certain. She has Nintendo in her blood.
My first video game was Duck Hunt. I have almost every amiibo, and my cat is named Yoshi.
Yoshi?
Yoshi.
I like you. Yoshi.
Yeah, Yoshi.
Sponge Bev is a shooter through and through, and he's got an important message to all of the Splatoon players out there.
I've never been so ready for something in my entire life. Watch out!
Very insightful. Will these competitors from the Outback do a kangaroo leap into the finals, and will they be able to outsplat the much more experienced teams? You guys okay? You can go inside now. Hey guys, Team Bro. Left foot, then right foot. Inside the door, okay? Just close your eyes and go into the building. Everything's gonna be fine. Just go inside. Well, I'm going inside. As the blue ringed Octolings strives to survive outside of its natural environment, the world waits.
Also, the blue ringed Octolings do have a team mom here with them, so expect them to get orange wedges in between matches. And I wouldn't go against any team with a team mom. We're getting set for our very next turf war. It's going to be on the reef, and let's take a closer look at this reef level. It's going to be one of the new ones in this game, of course, and pretty simple when you get to turf war. Essentially, you want to make sure that there's going to be an overpass area at spot number 1. Both teams can either attack from up top, Ashley, or go underneath the overpass to get an angle on the opposition.
Yeah, that bridge is going to be a highly contested area. You definitely want to make sure that you are on that bridge and you are watching, because there are so many ways to get to the middle of this map. So, and also a lot of different areas to hide in this map and jump out. And as we have seen from these elite level players, they are really good at hiding and surprising their opponents.
And Eric, we saw the Tenta missiles, a new special being deployed in that previous match, and it's one of those weapons that you can use to not only create some damage, but find out where the opposition is at too.
Absolutely. The Tenta missiles has 2 phases. So the first one is a targeting phase. You actually click the button, and a big reticle comes up, and you can see through walls to see exactly where enemies are and how many ever enemies you target. So you can target the entire enemy team. And then when you pull that trigger, it shoots out 4 missiles per enemy and splats them.
Let's get set for our second match in turf war. We've got Australia/New Zealand. The blue ringed Octolings taking on Deadbeat of USA. Blue ringed Octolings going to be in the purple ink. Meanwhile, Deadbeat in that turquoise ink. Let's get things started. Deadbeat going to go with a roller, slosher, splatter shot, and the heavy splatling. Meanwhile, blue ringed Octolings, a couple of splatter shots, an Octobrush, and a charger. Initial action, this one actually looks like Deadbeat making a push for the top of that overpass.
I gotta say, really surprised Power not picking up a charger. He was so dominant with that inside at the US Inkling Open. We're already seeing some splats happening. Deadbeat taking one player down really quickly. But yes, it is a fight for that bridge. It is the place to be if you're on the reef.
Maddie Kuma putting in some work, in the blue ringed Octolings with a 4-3 advantage as they take advantage of that overpass. A lot of purple ink on the field at this point, but plenty of time.
Double splats.
Still, for the blue ringed Octolings, we see Sponge Bev climbing up, and Ashley, this is another thing we see from the players, their ability to maneuver and get to these high perches that are very difficult to get to, but they can have a vantage point.
Absolutely. In turf war, inking a vertical surface isn't going to give you extra percentage, but it really helps your team get to places they need to be able to see your opponents and take them out.
Power with the heavy splatling, trying to keep some distance and zone out. The blue ringed Octolings 4-1 advantage for Deadbeat, though. Here's their opportunity. Don't forget, you can look at the top of your screen at any one of those squids that's flashing. That means they've got a special charge up ready to go. 4-4 things are even once again on the field. A lot of purple, though, as the blue ringed Octolings getting a bit of a push on Deadbeat. Deadbeat on their heels a little bit here, Ashley.
Yeah, I'm really surprised to see this, but you know what? Sometimes if you can make those pushes, if you can get those splats and take out some key people, you're going to be able to have a great advantage in putting down a lot of ink while someone else is waiting to respawn.
4-3 advantage, blue ringed Octolings with about 1:12 left. It's starting to look pretty even. Slight advantage for blue ringed Octolings. And Latius with an unbelievable splat on Wit. So impressive. Just the dexterity and aim of Latius right there, Ashley.
Very, very good play. I mean, these Charger players, one of the things I love about Chargers in Splatoon 2 is you're actually able to drop down into the ink, save that charge up, pop out really quickly, and make that shot. I mean, we've seen some people jump out of the ink, go airborne, and make those perfect splats.
You can't sleep on Deadbeat, though, as Hexen getting a major splat at the top of that overpass, and they're starting to get a bit of a push with a 4-2 advantage briefly over blue ringed Octolings, but blue ringed Octolings respond right here with another splat. Here comes a splash down on Wit. A dunk in your face right there by SpongeBev. 30 seconds left. 2-2 on the field. Anybody's match at this point. We're starting to see a little bit more turquoise take over for Deadbeat, though. SpongeBev trying to distance himself real quickly, Ashley. What does SpongeBev need to do to help out blue ringed Octolings at this moment?
Definitely get out there, take a friend, take a teammate, be together, and you've got to win those one-on-ones. So here they are right here fighting against Tim.
Deadbeat trying to close things
And
out right here. We have another splat. It's 4-1. Blue ringed Octolings. They have time for one more final push. Did they get enough? Oh.
That's close.
This is going to be
close.
This is in Judd's pause right here. Let's see what happens. Our final score. I can't tell you from my vantage point.
No.
Let's see here. Quiet. And the victory for the blue ringed Octolings, 44.7. They get the initial victory over Deadbeat. And Ashley, it was the final 6 seconds that we saw of blue ringed Octolings
Really
taking
was.
that 4-1 advantage to overcome Deadbeat in that critical part.
If you take out somebody on the opposite team in the last 20 seconds of the game, if you take out two, that is enough to swing a match. And I can speak for myself and all the hours I've played Splatoon. I'm sure a lot of you guys out there feel the same way. You've been in a match, you feel really good, and then all of a sudden, two people on your team go down, and then it's over. All of a sudden, everything changes.
Yeah, everything changes, and if you think about it, let's say you ink 5% of the map, but if you're also covering the enemy's 5%, that's essentially a 10% difference. So it can really swing a big amount in that last 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Let's not slow down this hype train. Let's get set for another matchup. This time it's going to be Japan and Dynameu versus USA and Deadbeat. And we saw Deadbeat. They lose to blue ringed Octolings, but they get a chance to bounce back at this point. And you look at what Dynameu was able to do in their first match. What's something that Deadbeat might try to do differently this time around?
I mean, I feel like they got to just put a charger in Power's hands, right? I mean, that was what got them here. But the charger is so different in Splatoon 2. It doesn't feel the same. It's a little bit different. It's definitely it's changed.
It's changed. I wouldn't say it's totally different, but I mean, yeah, you can store your charge now. So before in the first Splatoon, you'd have to sit up kind of on a perch, fully charge your shot, and then let it go.
And you couldn't hide in the ink if somebody was coming after you.
Yes, but now you can charge your shot, hide in the ink, pop back up somewhere else while still retaining
And
that
have
charge.
A full charge
yes,
ready to
immediately blast them.
And that's a huge, huge advantage for anybody looking to play a charger in Splatoon 2.
Right.
Well, we also talk about those specials, and we have a contingent from Ink TV that just went berserk when we saw that splashdown. And that special right there, when you look at it, Eric, it's one of those specials that if you can time it perfectly, it can create a huge swing of momentum in the match, and it also just looks so freaking awesome.
It looks awesome.
It really
because
awesome.
when you activate it, people scatter because they're scared. They're like, okay, this explosion's about to happen. I'm getting out of here. But you also can actually execute it while you're in the middle of a super jump. So when you're super jumping to one of your opponents on one of your teammates on the front lines, if they're surrounded by enemies, you're going to drop down, hit that, and it's going to create this huge explosion, taking out 2-3 enemies possibly.
Yeah.
It's a new Splatoon, which means we have yet another new map as they get set for Turf War. This is going to be Humpback Pump Track, Eric. And what's unique about this level is the other ones we've seen, there's sort of a middle area, and then each team has their respective half of the map. Humpback Pump Track, though, it's going to be a circular map with a lot of ways to access that major hump in the middle.
Right, that major hump is very important to hold down because it gives you such good sight of the entire 360 map. And there's so many ways to approach it. It's going to be hard to hold once you do get it.
But Ashley, we also have this outer track right here where, yes, if you have a BMX, you can pop a couple wheelies on the outside as you're spreading some ink around the area. You've got to really keep your head on a swivel when you see how many different ways that you can get flanked on this map.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this track is actually a really key part of this map just because this is going to enable your team to get all the way around the map, get behind your opponents, take them by surprise. And if you can keep that lane open almost all the way around, you're probably in really good positioning to get some key splats.
It is also consistent with some of the other maps as well, too, because there's a little bit of verticality in this map as well, too. We notice there are a lot of ledges that are just a little bit higher than jumping range that you've got to really be able to balance when you're trying to take on your opponent and really observe them. How does that factor into humpback pump track?
I mean, anytime you can get a high ground, that's always an advantage, especially for anybody with a roller, a slosher, a charger. I mean, those are great weapons to have when you're up high. So I think in this map, being able to be eye level with that mound in the middle of the map, even if you're not right in the center of it, is a really great way to actually offensively try to take back that section of humpback pump track.
As we get set for this third match in our round robin turf war portion of this tournament, one other thing, let's get real technical here, Eric. We talked about the splashdown. You mainly have to be on the same level as the opponent that you're trying to splash down because that splashdown is coming from the epicenter. If you're behind a wall or below a ledge where you are blocked from something, you won't get splatted.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have cover nearby and you see someone using a splashdown, you better get behind it.
Yeah,
Let's
take
get
cover.
to our third match here. Deadbeat taking on Dynameu. Dynameu in the pink, Deadbeat in the blue. Both teams getting an initial start. Deadbeat going with a couple of splatter shots, a heavy splatling and a slosher. Meanwhile, Dynameu, our first look at the splat dualies, the slosher, a charger, and a roller as Kakashino getting the party started in the middle of the map. However, Tim with the splat from behind, Ashley.
Yeah, Tim got the splat, but then, of course, Dynamon comes in with that roller. Hexen and Dynamon having a 1v1 right here in the middle of the map. This is really exciting. I always love seeing great players go one-on-one. But now, Dynamon has Kakashino, and it looks like Hexen is going down.
You see Dynamon's point of view, but also the rest of Dynameu doing a fine job of just inking their half of the map right now, being very diligent. We see a Stingray being deployed. 2 specials on the field for Dynameu as they have the 4-2 advantage over Deadbeat at this point. Kakashino with that slosher, trying to get things pink all over the place, and then here come the Tenta missiles.
Here come the Tenta missiles. I mean, you're going to see Kakashino put down immense amounts of ink with that slosher. He's going to have those Tenta missiles a lot in every single game.
Kakashino getting the splat on Wit just there. Meanwhile, power on the outside BMX track of humpback pump track. However, a splat for splat right there as we have a 3-2 advantage for Dynameu on the map. 140 left in this one. It's still pretty even. However, Dynameu controlling most of the middle hump here, Ash.
Yeah, Dynameu kind of doing a really good job here, but Hexen, you can see, kind of taking that lower map for US for Deadbeat, and now Kakashino bringing on that slosher, and it's a splat for splat, just the same.
Wit unleashing some Tenta missiles right there, going to try to advance with that slosher, just being slow and careful and making sure, just covering the area with ink, and you always want to make sure that you've got a place to move and a place to get out to before you advance further.
That's a really good point. I mean, one of the best things you can do for your teammates is, and yourself, give yourself an exit lane, because a lot of these players, I mean, if you're getting splatted, you're out of the game for a second, and what you've got to do is you've got to get away, take a minute, and get a teammate back to you. And so if you're by yourself, a good idea is to find those exit lanes.
4-2 advantage, Dynameu. They've got 3 specials. They just unleashed the Tenta missiles right there. And Ashley, this is a chance for Dynameu to make a decisive push in this match.
It looks like they are making a decisive push. There's some really good one-on-ones happening right now. I mean, it is looking really close, though, and anything can happen in these last 45 seconds.
45 seconds, 2-2 on the field, 1 special for each team. Dynameu going to have another squid join the party at this point. It's 3-2 Dynameu at this point. 37 seconds left. You see the map. Dynameu holding down the middle part. Deadbeat gonna have to make a push here, Ashley, and stay alive. That's the critical part.
Absolutely. Getting splatted at this point would be a huge deficit for them. They definitely don't. And Wakaroon takes out Tim. It's, oh no, they're down 1 player, but they can still make this happen. They've got 15 seconds left.
4-2 on the field right now for Deadbeat. You've got 13 seconds to make a push, trying to put some pressure on Dynameu. It's 4-2. They've got 3 specials waiting in the clip. 5 seconds left. Expect to see those specials have a bonanza the final 3 seconds. Deadbeat, did they get the push?
Oh, this is close.
Let's leave it up to Judd once again. Unbelievable finish. However, oh my gosh.
What's Jed got to say?
It's gonna be Dynameu, the 51.9 to 42.9 victory, and once again, a match that comes down to the final drop of ink for Deadbeat. However, they don't end up on the victorious side once again, and you look at Dynameu really dominating this match for the majority of the time. It was just too little ink, too late for Deadbeat.
Yeah, I'm actually, if you looked at the card, Dynamon, no specials unleashed, but also 5 splats and assists. That's great.
Let's take a look at the current standings. Don't forget, after this round robin part of Turf War, we will see the teams 1 through 4. 1 will take on 4 in the first elimination round, 2 versus 3. So that was a heated battle between Deadbeat and Dynameu. We might see them in the next round. 2-0 Dynameu in the lead. Meanwhile, Blue Ringed Octolings 1-0. Rising Moon, they've dropped a game. Meanwhile, Deadbeat in a little bit of a hole. They're going to have to ink their way out of that as we get set for a couple more rounds of Turf War. And really just Dynameu working really well as a team, and it seemed like they never just felt too much pressure from Deadbeat that entire match, Ashley.
Yeah, they're a well-oiled machine. They've been playing together for a long time. One of the things I thought was really interesting about Deadbeat is they have never met IRL until now. So they have never actually met in person until this tournament, which is really cool, but also it's one of those things where you kind of want to have that synergy of like playing together in the same place and being able to kind of put things together and do the thing. And so maybe that's a little bit of a hurdle.
Well, we've talked about communication, and Eric, what are some of the things that these players are going to communicate to each other throughout the match as far as helping them really be on the same page?
Yeah, so these players are talking about where they are. They're talking about where they see opponents. They're talking, tactics. We need to take and hold this position in order to spread our ink, most effectively. So they're constantly thinking, constantly communicating.
And you really look at what Deadbeat was able to do last game, late in the round. They had those 3 specials, but they just needed a little bit more time. So you wonder if Deadbeat might go back to 5 more seconds. They might go back to the drawing board and rethink some things for sure. We're going to get set for our 4th matchup right now. We've got the Blue Ringed Octolings from Australia / New Zealand taking on Rising Moon representing Europe. And we've got yet another new map to highlight. We're going to have Muscle Forge Fitness this time. And when you look at this map here, Ashley, it's really about what we call that rock climbing pyramid in the middle of this map. And when you highlight that, it's really interesting to see how teams can sometimes live up there, but then if you fall down from that pyramid, there are some narrow channels.
Yeah, you can make things happen. If you don't take over the pyramid, that's okay. You can still work all of the different little side areas. You can try to cross the great into enemy territory and kind of cut off those avenues. You're going to see a lot of bombs going up over into the enemy area. There's a lot of great ways to sort of stop your opponents from even getting to that center pyramid.
Yeah, absolutely. Cutting off your opponent's lane of attack is one of the most important things you can do. So because you limit their movement, and movement is everything.
And lastly, this map does have that little bit of an area that we talk about, Eric, where there are some ink-proof walls where you can't really make much of a push beyond that. So these teams will have a little bit of a safety net if things get a little too overwhelming to make a pushback.
Right, and there's usually a couple of ways you can get out of that part of your base. So if, an enemy is kind of camping one spot of that, you can take a different route.
Rising Moon getting set to take on the Blue Ringed Octolings. And the Blue Ringed Octolings, Ashley, they get the victory over Deadbeat in the opening round. And it was interesting. We had the mixer the other day, and they get a chance to play a little Splatoon too. And it's not on the teams. You're mixing it up, country versus country. They felt very confident after they had a hands-on approach once again with this specific build.
Yeah, I really liked how when we spoke to them, they said, the cool thing is we feel confident because we all have the exact same amount of experience with the game. No team has played more Splatoon 2 than somebody else, and so I think that's really apparent here. I mean, we had I would consider that to be an upset, our first upset of the day.
As we look at some of the other specials, we saw a couple of the Stingrays here, Eric, and we'll maybe get a chance to see that in this map. But really, these players are getting familiar with what specials play well with not only their individual playstyle, but the team playstyle.
Yeah, and there's a limited amount of specials they can use, so they need to plan to use those as effectively as possible.
Let's get this 4th match in our round-robin tournament started here. We've got Rising Moon in the orange. Meanwhile, Blue Ringed Octolings in the purple. Rising Moon going with a roller, slosher, Octobrush, and a blaster for our first appearance. Meanwhile, Blue Ringed Octolings, 2 splatter shots, a Octobrush, and a charger, as we already see a couple splats. 4-3 advantage on the field right now for the Blue Ringed Octolings. Seibu gonna hang out some ink right here, actually, as Rising Moon tries to hold down that rock climbing pyramid in the middle.
Yeah, this is a dangerous location for Seibu to be hanging out in, but gets the splat, able to jump up, swish that brush around, get that ink into everybody's face, which is really great. And now we got the inkjet.
Seibu and the inkjet, meanwhile, getting a splat on Latias right there, and then landing back in the ground. Cebu inking a masterpiece with that brush right now as we have the early advantage going to Rising Moon on this map, and they're doing a fine job of keeping the blue Ringed Octolings on their heels.
Yeah, you'll see on the north and the south sides of the map, you'll have these areas where you can drop down. They're going to put as much ink as possible. Rising Moon will put down as much orange ink as possible to keep them out of there. They want them to come across that grate so that they can funnel them through and take them out systematically.
SpongeBob falling victim to some Tenta missiles right there. Meanwhile, we have a splashdown being deployed for the blue Ringed Octolings. You see the map advantage right now. Rising Moon, 140 left, 4-4 on the field. A couple of specials ready to go for Rising Moon. Latias trying to just take aim at a couple potential opponents at this point. Not having much luck finding anybody right there. However, doing a fine job of holding that back line for the blue Ringed Octolings.
Yeah, really nice job taking out Cebu there. Cebu kind of going nuts with that. Oh, I saw some Toxic Mist.
That Toxic Mist will reduce your ink. We're down to 118. 4-2 advantage on the field for the blue Ringed Octolings. Let's see if they can make a push, and they're starting to get one. Two specials charged up. Stingray being deployed by this point by Latias, doing a fine job of using some cover. 4-4 still, neither team wanting to give up some ground. However, blue Ringed Octolings, they've got Rising Moon pushed back a little bit as it's now 4-1 on the field.
This is kind of a change of pace here. About a minute ago, we had a completely different map. Now it's covered in purple. We're seeing blue Ringed Octolings really make this last push in the last minute of this match.
There's the first Pachink of the match. I love to hear that as SpongeBob gets a splat right there. Meanwhile, Andy gonna try to keep SpongeBob at bay with that suction bomb. No luck there. 4-4 on the map, 30 seconds left, and really it seems like it's gonna be the team that holds the top for the final of this match. It's gonna win this one here.
That pyramid is so key. SpongeBob going down. They are at a deficit. Let's see if Rising Moon can make things happen right now in the last 20 seconds.
Two critical splats. Octolings, however, Rising Moon coming back, and the moon is rising right now with 17 seconds left. You've got two specials charged for Rising Moon. They've got the blue Ringed Octolings on their tentacles pushed back. Meanwhile, Vicky Bird trying to get some desperate ink along that side of the rock climbing pyramid. Is it gonna be enough? I don't know. I see a lot of orange on this map.
A lot of orange ink down there.
And it might be another potentially close match. Let's see what Judd has to say on this one. We really saw Rising Moon turn the tide late in this match. And our final result, that victory is going to go to Rising Moon, 46.7 to 43.8%. And really, we talk about how important it is actually to stay alive. And it was Rising Moon writing that critical 4-2 advantage late in the match to make the push of momentum right there.
Yeah, that last 30 seconds is absolutely key. If you are able to convert and get those splats, keep yourself from being splatted, get out of the heat when you're in the kitchen and be like, hey, I gotta wait a second before I do this last push because I'm alone and I don't want to get surrounded or splatted. You wait for your teammate to jump and then you go.
Eric, we've got a couple of replays we'll take a quick look at here. Yep. That was a very intense match, real back and forth. That's what you expect when you get teams of this caliber. Here's Cebu hiding down on that lower level, able to pop up out of the ink and use that Octo Brush to get the splat. And then once again, you see SpongeBob down below. Cebu gonna use that inkjet. And what's the best part about that inkjet in order to get some splats there, Eric?
So that inkjet allows you to get to places you actually wouldn't be able to. So kind of over walls that you can't climb because they're ink proof. You saw there with Cebu, actually Cebu went around and splatted because they're able to flank using that inkjet. The danger with the inkjet is that once the time is up, you actually go back to the spot you initially popped it from. And everyone knows that because there's a little beacon there. So if you don't use that in a safe spot, people are going to camp that because they know you're coming right back.
We see that inkjet, it harkens back to fine memories from Super Mario Sunshine. You see the ink that's propelling you in the air. That ink that is lifting you up in the air, does that have an impact on anything on the ground?
It does. You can actually splat people using that. So if you fly over someone with all the kind of ink exhaust coming out, you can splat them with that. It's also inking your turf. So, you know, people can follow you using the trail you leave behind.
It's a really great way to escape. If you're in a little bit of trouble and there is nothing but enemy ink on the ground, that's a great way to get up and get out.
It's true, but you're also kind of exposed because you're up in the air. If there are chargers around, you're kind of
sitting
a
duck.
squid in a barrel. Yeah.
Squid in a barrel. I love it right there. Well, we're going to get set for our fifth matchup in this round-robin portion of the Turf War. We've got the blue Ringed Octolings taking on Dynameu. This time it's going to be Moray Towers. We all know and love Moray Towers from the original Splatoon. However, it's a little new and improved.
It's the map you love to throw your controller at.
Absolutely. So spot number one, you've got that sort of lower level quad right there where a lot of the action can funnel to. However, there are rails, Ashley. And Ashley, as I draw these rails, why don't you tell the folks what players can do to use with these rails to access some more mobility?
I'm very excited about ink rails in Moray Towers specifically. So these players are going to be able to ink a rail, it will turn their team's color, and then they can ride in that rail to places they wouldn't otherwise. Take them much longer to get to.
Right, yeah, and especially because it's essentially an inked turf. Because if you haven't inked the turf, you're gonna have to then ink it and then go. But if you pop the ink rail, you can just get on and ride it immediately.
Other subtle changes we noticed, when you're in that quad area, Eric, there's a little bit of a half pipe that leads to this long vertical wall. We've been known in Splatoon to see a lot of chargers sit on top of that wall. That wall has been shortened this time around, making it easier to get up to any chargers that might be perching there.
Yeah, before, if you held that position, you had great oversight of the entire bottom level there. But with that being able to be more,
It took a while to swim up that wall. It took a while to swim up that wall and take out. So now they'll be able to rush that nest and take out anybody with a charger who's trying to get things set up.
2-0 Dynameu taking on the blue ringed Octolings. Moray Towers harkens back to the original Splatoon. Let's start with Dynameu in the green, taking on the blue ringed Octolings in the pink. Dynameu gonna go with a splatter shot throw. Meanwhile, a slosher, a Dynamo roller, as well as a charger. Meanwhile, you see the blue ringed Octolings going with that Octo Brush splatter shot, charger, and heavy splatling.
You notice Autobaru from Dynameu hanging back, painting all of the turnbacks, all the switchbacks. There you go, Vicky Bird with a huge Octo Brush splat. Then gets splatted by Dynamo.
Vicky Bird getting splatted right there. And Dynamo, we should mention this edition of Splatoon, when you're flicking the ink with that roller, it now goes in a different direction, actually.
Yeah, this is, that vertical splash is a little terrifying. And also really easy to reach someone with a charger.
Kakashino getting the slosher splat on SpongeBob right there. Kakashino, though, getting splatted, however, by the splatter scope. Latias, very nice aim right there. Latias trying to take aim on some more Dynameu players. Meanwhile, nobody else has really claimed that middle area. Both teams have done a fine job of diligently inking the ramps on their half of the map, though. You got to account for all those small areas, Ashley.
Yeah, Blue Ringed Octolings really looks like they're taking advantage of Dynameu, hanging back a little bit, maybe getting ready for a collective charge. Latias just going nuts with that splatter scope, absolutely taking advantage of that charge being able to be used as you pop out of the ink.
What's impressive is Dynameu really has the majority half of their map covered in nothing but green ink. Meanwhile, they get a couple of splats, 3-2 advantage on the field. Minute left in this one. A special ready to go. There goes the Stingray. Dual Stingrays! Dueling it out across Moray Towers right there. Meanwhile, Kakashino starting to advance into the blue ringed Octolings territory. Gonna get the splat. Moving up now to Latias, trying to get and gets the splat on Latias. And this is trouble for the blue ringed Octolings because Kakashino gonna unleash those tentacles.
That's right, 10 missiles incoming, and also we're down to the last minute, so now is the time to not get splatted.
Impressive splat here by SpongeBob with the splatter shot. Meanwhile, Rakaruno trying to move with that charger, trying to find a couple of blue ringed Octolings to get a splat on. Got Vicky Bird in his sights, however, can't connect. 50 seconds left, 4-4 on the field. I feel like this is going to be another one that comes down to the end here, Ashley.
This is going to be a really close one. Vicky Bird doing a really nice job of escaping the middle of that map. Had a little bit of a moment where maybe it was like, whoa, I got to get out of here. I got to leave. Sorry, guys, bye.
Vicky Bird in the ink jet, getting some ink covered in the middle of the map. Going to respond back to her spot. Avoids, not too late.
Splatted.
As Dynameu starting to make a push into blue ringed Octoling territory. Just 23 seconds left, 4-2 advantage on the map for Dynameu. They've got a special ready to go, and here comes that push. 15 seconds left. Can the blue ringed Octolings get to the middle of the map and make something happen? Oh, it's gonna be close.
It's gonna be close.
Dynameu, Atubato holding things down from up top. And this is going to be a late little push from the blue ringed Octolings. However, critical splat by Vicky Bird.
That was a
Vicky
huge
Bird
splat.
with the splat and 2 seconds left. You had enough time to get just a little bit more ink down.
That could be 1% that wins it.
However, it could be Dynameu, 48% to 41. You saw Dynameu putting a little bit of that ink, that green ink, into the blue ringed Octolings half of the map, and that was the difference in this one, Ashley.
Kakashino snuck back there and was able to get that slosher on the ground, and that thing puts down a lot of ink, and so you can do a lot of damage in a really short amount of time.
It does. It's such an offensive weapon, and you saw actually Kakashino had 10 splats and assists there. Really,
Four
yeah.
seconds
Performance.
left.
That's a huge
Here's
performance.
this critical splat. Bicky Bird gets the splat. You know, of course, it's going to create some purple ink in the place of who you just splatted. But with 1 second left, could have used about 4 or 5 more to
4 or
get
5 more
up
seconds
into
would have been
the
oof.
territory for Dynameu. And so Dynameu 3-0, and they just roll through this opening round of Turf War here.
Absolutely dominating. I mean, but you know, they're communicating. Obviously, you're seeing them, you know, have strategies. Say, hey, in Mori Towers, let's hold back on Turf War. Let's make sure every inch of all of our switchbacks are covered in our team ink. And we don't really see 100% of that on Blue Ringed Octolings.
You see Dynameu standing at the top of the standings, 3-0, flawless through our round robin portion. Meanwhile, this is an interesting matchup here between Deadbeat and Rising Moon. If Deadbeat can get the victory, they're going to tie up with Rising Moon and Blue Ringed Octolings. And we do have a tiebreaker in place. We're keeping track of the percentage of turf that was inked. We'll obviously seed the teams based upon who inked the highest percentage of turf in all 3 of those matches. We'll keep you posted on that if Deadbeat can get the victory over Rising Moon. And so, Eric, we've seen Deadbeat struggle a little bit in their first 2 matches to really claim a victory here. What's something they might want to think about? Because we haven't seen Power with that charger yet, relying on that heavy splatling.
Yeah, Power has switched to the splatling, trying to hold that back line and ink as much as possible. But Power, you know, such an effective charger player. We might see him switch to the charger. Who knows?
Well, it's also interesting depending on the map as well, too. These players are just now getting familiarized with these maps, so there are some things that you're going to work on with your communication. However, it's really just, we've seen Deadbeat try to turn the tide late in the match, but just like we saw with Blue Ringed Octolings, too little, too late. You think about maybe having a more conscious effort to make that push earlier on.
Yeah, and I think they really have to capitalize on those one-on-ones. I mean, that's such a key part of being able to win at the end of that last 30 seconds. If you've got to win those one-on-ones. You've got to take out your opponent and get them out of the match.
And Eric, as we get set for our final match of round robin Turf War play, Turf War really helps teach the fundamentals of how you can build upon being successful in Splatoon. As we mentioned before, Ashley, you and I, we hang out in A-, B+ land. You're going to be a little bit higher than that, I think, actually. But
just slightly, I promise.
When you really want to make that turn to become a better player, and the conversation we had with these players, it's understanding how you can have territory control and how you don't just unconsciously go into a particular area. You want to make sure that you are inking area, not only to give yourself space to move, but you decrease the amount of mobility for the opposing team.
Right, and Turf War is just one of the modes in the game. It is kind of, as you said, build those fundamentals, but you can use those philosophies you develop playing Turf War in all of the different modes. And also, you know, we do see Deadbeat 0-2 right now, but some teams are better at different modes. So we'll see maybe once we get past the round robin stage, which is just seeding us for that elimination round, we might see Deadbeat actually just destroy the competition. You never know.
Let's get to our next map, a new one, Inkblot Art Academy.
I love this map.
We got a chance to check it out today for the first time, and as we look at this map, let's point out a couple key points with our numbers here. You've got that middle area, you've got some cover right here, Ashley, but also there's a very interesting piece of art on each side of the map. Let's top that, 2 and 3. These are almost like hands that are sticking up, and you have a chance to ink those. So how can teams use that for leverage in order to get a good line of sight on everybody?
They are inkable, and I will say if I had a charger, that would be the place that would be my nest.
It's a little obvious, you know, people might think you're up there and actually shoot up there, but at the same time, it's a great vantage point.
Absolutely, you could get a burst bomb up there. That would not be a good thing. That would be very bad.
Well, there's some similarities in this map to the Reef, as there's a middle area. It's not a very long linear level that we might have seen in some levels in the original Splatoon here, Eric. So the teams are really going to be right on top of each other from the majority of the map. It's not going to take very long to get back to the middle also.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll see who is able to hold that, and if you're able to stay alive, super jump right to the front lines, you can push beyond that.
Yeah.
Let's get set for our final match in round robin play of Turf War. Deadbeat looking for that first victory as they take on Rising Moon. Deadbeat going to be in the yellow, Rising Moon going to be in the blue, and let's take a look at the loadouts for both teams here. Rising Moon going with that Slosher, Octobrush, Roller, and Splatter Shot. Meanwhile, a pair of Splatter Shots, heavy Splatling once again for Deadbeat, and a Slosher as Rising Moon the first to the middle here, Ashley.
Yeah, I mean, they went right for it. They were not wasting any time at getting ink down on the ground, which might be detrimental to them. We'll have to see if that pays off.
And right now we see Deadbeat. Everyone's just sort of holding the same linear position, getting some ink covered, making sure nobody advances too far out without some support behind them as we get a vantage point of Tim, and it's a 4-3 advantage right now for Deadbeat. A couple specials ready to go, 3-2 on the field. Early advantage with 2:25 left in this one, Ash.
Yeah, you can see Deadbeat really making a push here because they have that player advantage. Hexen really just doing a lot of damage and taking out a lot of our Rising Moon players.
Tim being very aware for Deadbeat, finding one of those lower areas that you can go and ink every single percentage. Very vital in Turf War. 4-3 advantage and a trio of specials ready to go for Deadbeat at any moment's notice.
Yeah, I see some really interesting things happening down here with Seibu is taking a little bit of a sneak attack here, trying to take out Wit. Let's see if it works out. It does. He takes out Wit. That's great. And now we're seeing Power with that Splatling get taken out.
The
heavy
ink
Splatling.
jet with a huge blorb of ink to take out Power. Power drops down from that perch. However, Tim's going to avenge his teammate right here.
That's right.
As Tim
Avenge
points
the
back
splat.
to the lower level, get some more ink down there. And we saw Power at the middle of that tower, in the middle of the level, a really important spot and vantage point for him.
It is, but it's also really dangerous for him because that heavy Splatling has a huge wind-up time. It takes a long time to get that thing to charge, but once it's ready, he is going to be very dangerous.
Tim sees Seibu trying to undo his work that he worked so hard for. Going to try and get him. Here comes the splashdown, but no. Seibu getting the splat with the Octolings while Tim was midair with the splashdown. Too late there. 1 minute left. 4-4 on the field. Right now, the advantage looks like it's going to Rising Moon as they're starting to make a bit of a push into Deadbeat territory. It's 2-2. Seibu in that inkjet. He's gonna have to splat down though.
He just took off, and that's the importance of having your exit lanes ready to go. Seibu's trying so hard to take out Hexen, and this is a great one-on-one, and I'm really curious to see this could be a key moment.
43 seconds left, 4-4 on the field right now. Seibu trying to escape some danger right there. Wit gonna try and flank him with the slosher. Tim unable, gets the splat on Seibu. It's now 4-2 for Deadbeat. Here's where they've got to make that push we've talked about, Ashley.
This is a huge advantage for Deadbeat. They're gonna push forward. They've got 2 specials ready to go. Tim is already pushing into enemy territory.
Keep an eye on Andy at the bottom part of the map right here, trying to cover some important territory, trying to get the slosh. He's gonna go one-on-one with Wit. Wit using some coverage. Andy with a critical splat against Wit, and that's gonna allow Andy to move out and cover some precious yellow territory. It's now 2-1, 3-1 on the field for Deadbeat. They've got 5 seconds left for a push. This might be enough. Tim
a lot of yellow ink
down into action, and let's see what the result here is. Did Deadbeat get enough done late in this match? It looks like they might have. What does Judd have to say? And yes, that's going to be a 50.5 victory over 32.8 for Deadbeat. That means our producers in the back are going to have to do some number crunching to figure out what's going to happen with this tie. But what we saw from Rising Moon, they did a great job of making sure whenever Deadbeat covered one of those lower areas, they rushed right in there to make sure that they covered it up, and it forced Deadbeat to really get away from what they were trying to do to go take care of the damage that Rising Moon was doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we also saw them really make an effort to keep the north and south parts of the map in the center covered in yellow. So that way, if they were in trouble, if they have a teammate jumping in, they're able to have those exit lanes. They can come back and have that advantage of, oh, well, you haven't inked here. Sorry, Rising Moon.
And Eric, how important is map recognition when you get to Turf War? Because a lot of times, so much of the action is sometimes concentrated in the middle of the maps. We saw those lower areas that you can't ignore, especially late in the match.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certain players tend to gravitate to certain parts of the map. I mean, you have your little hiding spots that you love to go to. If you have a new map like Inkblot, you haven't established those yet. So you really need to figure those out before you can use the map to its most effective.
So we talked about our producers doing some number crunching in the back, and as we said, it was the highest average percentage of ink covered throughout the 3 matches. In first place, obviously, we've got Dynameu. They're 3-0. Australia, USA, and Europe, all tied. How about these numbers here? Australia, New Zealand, 43.4%. Deadbeat, 43.4%.
Wow.
Rising Moon, 34.56. So as we see the teams getting set for the first set of elimination matches, it'll be Dynameu taking on Rising Moon. Meanwhile, the blue Ringed Octolings of Australia, New Zealand taking on Deadbeat as we advance to these best-of-5 modes. So we knew the competition was good here, Ashley.
This is fierce competition. It is literally dead even. This is amazing, and honestly, really impressive by all of the teams to come out and have this really even match. There's nobody who's just getting swept.
And we see that these teams, as we mentioned, trying to adjust to different types of strategies here, Eric. We mentioned you've got no more stealth jump along to go with that quick respawn. There's no more ninja ink as well, too. So these teams are really going to get a feel for each other. Are you excited to see how the strategy might evolve throughout these matches?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all these teams really are reading their opponents. They're seeing, what's most effective against this team, and they're evolving their strategies based on that.
An unbelievable set of round-robin matches in Turf War. We've got our teams seated. We're going to take a short little break, then get set for our first elimination matches, best of 5, as we continue with the Splatoon 2 World Inkling Invitational.